Bouncing balls are great for learning the basics of animation, since they incorporate so many of the animation principles. One principle that we can't easily cover with a ball, however, is follow through and overlapping action. But what if the ball was an orange? In this lesson, I'll show you how to use straight ahead animation to add drag and follow through to the leaf of this orange. Hello, I'm John Knowles, and this lesson is part of my Intermotion course, which teaches the foundations of character animation within Blender. The entire course will be available for free on YouTube, and if you'd like to make use of the demo files and rigs as you follow along, they're also available for free using the link in the description. Drag and follow through is most commonly observed in things like loose clothing or hair, and it's essential to know how to animate it. To keep things simple, I'm going to demonstrate it using this orange. You can download the start file for this lesson from the course resources, and you'll see that I've already animated the orange bouncing. So if I play this back, our orange bounces on the ground and has a little roll to settle into place at the end. But our leaf is obviously extremely stiff at the moment. So what we want to do is go in and animate that leaf with a bit of drag and follow through to make it look far more convincing. So if I just head back to my first frame here, you'll notice over to the right here, within the armature tab, we have a number of bone collections, which I've set up on the rig. So for the bounce, I've been animating these main controls here, but we need to enable the controls for the leaf. And what I can actually do is just disable our main controls because we won't be needing those for now. Now, if I select these leaf controls here, you'll see that they don't have any animation on them at the moment at all. So what we're going to do is just over the viewport, hit the A key to select all of those controls, and I'm going to hit I to insert a first keyframe there on all of them. And when we're animating something that's dragging, we need to think about where it's come from. So in this case, our orange is already in motion. We know it's falling down here, so it's obviously come from this direction here. And we want the leaf to appear as if it's come from that direction as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select just this first bone here in the chain, and I'm going to enable my rotation tool here. So I'm going to just press Shift and Space and turn on rotation there so that we can see the gizmo here. And I'm going to switch this also over into local space. So for now, what I'm going to do is just rotate this up a little bit, just the stalk control. And then we want to, once we've got everything pointing in the right sort of direction, is to create a nicer shape with our leaf, because it's very edge on at the moment here in the camera. And this is when we can start thinking about our principles of solid drawing or solid posing. We're trying to improve the clarity of what we're animating and its visual appeal. So what I'm going to do is just rotate these controls on the y-axis, but first of all, I'm actually going to change my transform pivot point, because at the moment we're rotating all of them together. I want to change this to individual origins. That way, as we rotate these on the y-axis, we get this distributed roll along the length of the leaf. So I'm also going to select these end ones and just rotate them down a little bit to shape this leaf to make it feel as if it's flowing nicely along its direction of travel. So something like that should do to start with. And now if we move forward a few frames, you can see that that leaf needs to start curving upwards to follow that path. So I'm just going to move along a little bit, select all of these controls. Let's just rotate them up a little bit, like so. Just moving back and forth to see how this is moving. And then as we start to come down, we want to particularly bend the end ones up. I'm going to just select all of these controls, rotate them all up a little bit. But these end ones, just that bit more, looking at the direction that we're coming from, so it feels as if we're following the same path as the orange there. I'm starting to straighten out that leaf. Then as we come down here, we really need to start bending things up a bit more. So I'm going to do this right from the stalk. then move along this chain here. Again, always looking at the shape of this leaf here over in the camera view, because we want it both to feel as if it's genuinely following that path and dragging behind the orange, but we also want it to look as nice as possible. And then as we hit the ground, we need to just adjust that slightly, but we're going to set a keyframe on everything there, and then we're going to start with the leaf following through behind. So it'll be dragging right the way down into that contact point, and then as we start to go up, what I'm going to do is just, with everything selected there, I'm just going to hit Alt and R to reset it. So we've got a good place to go from. I'll rotate that stalk down a little. Again, I'm going to introduce some twist along the length of that leaf and rotate it back in the direction it's just come from. But what I don't want is that tip pointing to the ground. I want it to feel as if it's wrapped around. So I'm going to pull that back and up. Maybe just rotate this other control a little bit. Just trying to get a shape that looks pleasing and also convincing for the motion of that leaf. I think what I'm actually going to do is just pull this up a little bit further so I can rotate this next control down a little bit more as well. That'll give me a nicer shape and a better flow. So then as we get up here, what I want to do is I'm just going to reset the tip of that there. Just rotate that down a little bit more. Just setting a keyframe on everything there. So I feel this is going to be starting to lift up a bit here up at the top. So it's, as the leaf is recovering, the top can be lifting up and the lower parts dragging behind a little bit more. And then as we reach the apex, I just want to lift some of these controls up a little bit higher, still leaving that tip dragging. And then as we come down, obviously we want this to all start dragging a little bit more behind. So I think I'm happy with where that gets to around frame 17, so I'm going to select all of that and set a keyframe. But as we come down, I want that tip to be lifting up more. And then we really want to pull things up a bit higher, just as we get into our contact here on the ground. So we feel it dragging behind. And now as we start to bounce up, again, we want that to start bending in the opposite direction. So I think what I'm going to do is just pull these controls down a bit further and drag that tip a bit more. See how that looks. So it really feels like the leaf is still moving downwards as the orange is starting to move up. I think we want those just up a little bit more. So this can be down a bit more. So moving on a couple of frames and just start to rotate all of this in the opposite direction, having it drag behind. And again, just start to recover that leaf a little bit at this point. We want to go back to this frame 23 and just move that tip down a little bit. We want to get a smoother transition into that frame 24. Feels that we just have this little bit too much of a pop down there. Just slowly moving through. So on frame 29 we have a bit more of a drop into place, so let's just drag that a little bit more behind. And again, just have things settle a bit more. You'll notice I'm trying to set keys on everything as we go through. A few areas that I haven't, but what we don't want to be in a position is where something that we change further down the line impacts frames further back. So selecting everything and setting keyframes on it can be very helpful, just to lock everything in position on that particular frame. So just to have this recover up a little bit. And what I want, I'm just going to drag this further down the timeline so that as the orange starts to move backwards, the leaf is still on the way up, and then the leaf will settle down somewhere back here. So I'll just rotate that slightly down into place. Maybe just have a slight recovery back up again. Just move that one a bit further down. That's a bit extreme, so what I can do is select everything there, set keyframe part way along, and I can just move that and overwrite that keyframe there, move it on a little bit as well. So let's play this back and see what we've got. There we are. So I'm fairly happy with that. What we want is this feeling that the leaf is following the path that's been dictated by the orange. It's dragging behind, and as the orange slows down, the leaf follows through. It moves back up again and drags behind. We have more follow through, and then we have a settle at the end. And how much that leaf moves at the end, how fast it moves and how quickly it recovers its initial state, really tells us a lot about the material that it's made of. If we have too much movement in the leaf at the end, it will appear too floppy and not have the stiffness that that leaf naturally would have. And getting the right balance comes down to practice, experience, and paying attention to how things move in the world around you. Studying reference can be really helpful in that sense. For this lesson's exercise, I've animated another orange bouncing off a wall and coming to a stop. Using the provided start file, try to add drag and follow through to the leaf, paying attention to how much it deforms based upon the speed of the orange and how quickly it settles at the end of the move. Have fun, and I'll see you in the next lesson.